Sarah Imeinu's lifetime was an amalgam of 100 years, 2 decades, and 7 years as recounted in Chaya Sarah. The Parsha commences with a seemingly straightforward detail of Sarah's lifespan, precisely 127 years. Yet Rashi adds a dimension of depth, emphasizing their profound purpose and fulfillment. A captivating midrash explains the significance of Sarah's remarkable years. It narrates an instance where the illustrious Rabbi Akiva, delivering a shiur, discerned his audience's lethargy, and in response, he pivoted the discourse with a question. Why did Esther Hamalka merit rulership over 127 provinces? With incredible insight, he shared that it was in the merit of her ancestress, Sarah, who graced the world for 127 fruitful years. And Chachamim pondered the choice of this lesson by Rabbi Akiva. The Chidushei Harim elucidates that Rabbi Akiva was underscoring that for each of Sarah's years, an embodiment of unwavering service to Borei Olam, her descendant Esther ascended to a position of authority. He proceeds, revealing the intrinsic value of each day akin to a town. Rabbi Akiva accentuated the profound value of optimizing one's times, and if Sarah, through her meritorious service, could reap such tremendous rewards for her progeny, then how is it conceivable for one to sleep during a Torah shiur? Rabbi Akiva's underlying message resonates profoundly. It underscores the paramount importance of every moment dedicated to Limud Torah and the service of Borei Olam, where the promise of rewards, both personal and generational, remains incomprehensible. And this thematic underpinning of the value of time resonates throughout the Parasha, describing Avram Avinu's twilight years. And he uses the pasuk in Bereshit, and Avraham was old, and he came with his days. What does it signify to come with one's days? The Anaf Yosef, invoking the Zohar, shares an insight that when a righteous neshama crosses the threshold into Olam Haba, each day of their earthly journey proudly accompanies them to the heavenly court. Each day stands as a loyal witness before Kudsha Baruch Hu, offering an account of how it was conscientiously and virtuously spent. Thus, upon the culmination of his extensive and productive life, the holy Avram Avinu arrived at the heavenly tribunal, quite literally escorted by all of his days. In contrast, Zohar unveils a different reality for the wicked. Their days do not come with them. Instead, they attempt to evade intense heavenly evaluation. And these two profound concepts in the parasha serve as a poignant reminder of the incalculable worth of time. The Chafetz Chaim, daily, would introspectively require, Yisrael Meir, how did you allocate your time today? And even the mere absence of accounting for several minutes on a given day would elicit a profound remorse. Allow me to share a story. A middle-aged man recently traveled to a number of countries in Eastern Europe, visiting holy grave sites, and he traveled by bus through parts of Hungary, Slovakia, and the Czech Republic, stopping at the graves of many great Gedolim of yesteryear. The man was inspired at each stop, but one place felt different. When he arrived in Uhel and stood at the graveside of the holy Yismach Moshe, Reb Moshe Teitelbaum, the man felt more than inspiration. He couldn't stop crying, and he found it difficult to breathe. He hadn't felt this way at any of the other kivarim, and he couldn't understand what brought about this unusual, subconscious, emotional reaction, specifically in Uhel. Back home, he mentioned his unusual phenomenon to his 93-year-old father, who spent his entire life steeped in Torah and Avodat Hashem. At once, the fully cognizant man replied, I know exactly what happened, and I will tell you. Wistfully, he continued, when World War II finally hit us in Hungary in 1944, I was learning in yeshiva. The German army plowed through Hungary with incredible speed, leaving little time to escape, and I, together with one of my friends, managed to slip out of their evil grasp, running from village to village along the Hungarian countryside, staying out of sight. One night, we arrived at the small town of Szembati, and what we saw was heartbreaking. The Germans, Yimach Shemam, obliterated everything Jewish. The town deported all of the residents. The shul was wrecked. Benches were overturned, sifarim tossed about haphazardly. As a final insult to the Jews, the Nazis, Yimach Shemam, had one of the large Sifrei Torah unrolled and threw it outside the door of the shul for everyone to see. It was an absolute disgrace, and my friend and I decided right then and there we couldn't allow this desecration to remain. Although it would weigh us down heavily, we struggled to lift the dedicated and the sacred Torah and carried it out in our arms as we continued on our trek. For a while, we managed to elude the Germans, but finally we realized there were really no more places to hide. So when we reached Uhel, we made a decision. Being that our capture was imminent, we wanted to do one final mitzvah with Mesirut Nefesh and devotion. We reached the cemetery and began digging by hand next to the grave of the holy Tzaddik, the Yitzhak Moshe. We laid the Sefer Torah to rest in a shallow grave. After the terrible destruction and desecration purported on our people by the Nazis, our final act of Mesirut Nefesh was Kavod HaTorah. And with tears streaming down our cheeks, we buried that Sefer Torah in the shallow grave. From there we ran far away, and with miraculous chesed of Borei Olam, we survived. After a moment of stunned silence, the father concluded. He looked to his son and said, I have no doubt that what you felt standing in front of the kever of the Yitzhak Moshe was the electric current derived from the mitzvah of Mesirut Nefesh that I performed right there over 60 years ago. Avraham Avinu and Sarah Imenu were the archetypes of unwavering dedication to the maximization of every moment. And while their heights of spiritual accomplishment appear as distant as the galaxies, their example compels us to cherish each passing moment. Let's focus on our spiritual and moral compass and be the calm in the storm, the beacon of hope in the darkness of the nations. In doing so, we not only find our own purpose, but also help others navigate turbulent waters. Our world can either be a noisy echo chamber or a symphony of mystical and meaningful actions. The choice is ours. Another nonsensical TikTok, more haki balash on Insta, or one more parak of Tehillim for our frontliners. Today, the stakes are higher than ever before, and our actions carry immense importance. Our time is a precious currency. Recently, Am Yisrael achieved unprecedented heights that may have once seemed unattainable. But in 2023, the world spits forth an incessant influx of information overload, consuming our time and our attention. The average human checks his or her cell phone 144 times a day, spends an average 4 hours and 32 minutes a day on their phone. That's up 35% before the war broke out. We stand at a crossroads. Either we're swept up by the endless sea of video content, or we rise above it. I'll share what I tell my children regularly. Receiving a forwarded video doesn't imply an obligation to watch. The discretion lies at our fingertips, a choice between passive consumption and active contribution. Let's finesse our spiritual compass with even more tefillah, chesed, limud Torah. The world can be a cacophony of noise or a symphony of meaningful actions. The power to shape that choice lies within us. An electrical current, lightning storm. We can be the architects of a better Am Yisrael, prioritizing purpose over distraction. Mi ka'amcha Yisrael? Nobody. Shabbat Shalom.